Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids. We are in our 11th year homeschooling. I'm also the owner and author behind townsendhouse.com, where I help you implement systems and strategies in order to overcome the chaos and cultivate simplicity in your home and homeschool. Today I am joining Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from the Waldock Way in an open collaboration all about my homeschool space. So let's get into it. If I had been really diligent, I would have cleaned up my homeschool room, which is in our basement, so that I could take you on a little tour. However, it is not in the best shape right now. I'm actually going to have a lot of pictures and maybe a little bit of video over here to share with you where we homeschool and all the different homeschool spaces that we use. We moved into this house a couple of years ago. If you've been watching my videos at all in the past couple of years, you'll know that we moved right before everything shut down, like 2 weeks before. So we had all kinds of ideas for different areas in our home that have not come to fruition yet because we had priorities in other areas pop up, which is life, and that is totally okay. I do have a great space in the basement, and that is where I house most of my homeschool books and a lot of the different supplies and resources that we use, but we don't actually homeschool down there. My kids prefer to be upstairs. Now, perhaps when we finish the homeschool space, there's space for a den downstairs as well, and once we get furniture, whenever that is, I think that we will be more inclined to be down there more often. But as of right now, we tend to homeschool in our main living space, and so that is what I'm going to talk about today. I do have a vlog where I organized all of my books this past summer, so I'm going to leave a card for that as well as a link in the description box if you are interested in seeing more detail as to how I organize my books. I have a lot of books. We're literature-based homeschoolers / interest-led, so we have a lot of books, and my youngest is just in 1st grade and my oldest is doing high school level courses now, so we have a wide range, and I don't really get rid of anything because we have such a wide range. But the first place that we typically start out our homeschool day is at our dining room table. And the reason that we start here is because it just works. I can set things out in the morning after I have my coffee and get ready for the day. I just put out the kids' stuff, and it's a good place for our morning meeting and to sit and sort of go over the expectations for the day. Now, in the fall, there was a lot less of that because we did an awful lot of school in the car. My kids were both in, my older 2 were involved in public school band, so we were back and forth to the public school all the time. It was a lot. So we did a lot of car schooling, and I figured out a formula that worked well for us and the things that I could do to make it work in the time that we had in the car. So that was another place that we did a lot of homeschooling this past semester. So we didn't do as many morning meetings and we didn't use the dining room table as much. But now that we are home more, we are starting out our day at the dining room table. I usually have a list for the kids, for my older 2, for the week of all the things that they need to accomplish. And we have been doing lists in our homeschool for maybe 7, 8 years now, and it really works for them. They like to go in order of the list and they like to be able to check things off, so that's what we do. So I usually have a list for them. I also have my teacher planner, which has all of our various curricula listed out so that I know what is next and what we need to work on next. And then any binders that we're working out of. We don't do a ton of worksheets, but we do have some worksheets that we go through Mainly science is what I'm thinking of at the moment. And so I end up taking a lot of the current material that we are using right now from our homeschool cart. I have another video on how I organize my homeschool cart. It took me a while to figure out what would work best for a homeschool cart. I got caught up in the 3-tier cart. I've seen so many people use a 3-tiered cart, and then I got 2 and I was not at all sure how I was going to use them, partly because we have a lot of taller books and binders with instructor's guides and coil bound things, and they only fit on the top tier. They don't fit on the 2 lower tiers. So I struggled for a little bit, but I end up keeping the most of what we use in about a 4 to 6 week period on my homeschool cart, and that sits right next to a bureau in our dining room. The bureau houses all of our craft supplies, crayons, markers, clay, all kinds of different paint, all the things for crafting are in that bureau. And then on top of my bureau, I have my basket that has the kids' binders in it. And then I usually also keep my morning basket there so that it is ready and available for me when I do my morning routine. I do have a video of how I organize my homeschool cart, and I will leave that in the description box if you are interested in seeing how I manage to keep it organized. After I go through everything that is expected of the kids for the day, usually Emma and Jack move on to their individual subjects. They will do some of it at the table together, some of it they will go to the computer and do. We use WorldWatch for our current events. We've been using that. I was on their launch team whenever they launched. I think it was right at the beginning of 2020 or right around there. We love WorldWatch for current events. The kids really enjoy it. They have gotten a lot out of it, and they love to chat with my husband and I about the different things that they learned from that program. So I think it's a great option. If you are looking for a current events program, there is a subscription fee. Another option is CNN 10, and I believe that the presenter on CNN 10 is a homeschool dad, so that is another great option, and I believe that one is free. The computer is in our living room. It is in an open space, so it's not hidden away anywhere, but that is where my oldest does her Spanish and as well as her math, and both Emma and Jack use the Adobe suite, the Creative, I think it's called Creative Cloud, for animating and video editing and all kinds of other creative endeavors. And Jack also uses that computer for his Python projects and any other computer coding things that he is doing. That is kind of our family computer that the older two share, and it works out well for us at the moment, although I can foresee having issues in the future. They used to both have Chromebooks, but Chromebooks don't really work. That's just my opinion. If they work great for you, I'm glad, but they were not a great purchase for us. So unfortunately, that was not great, but the family computer does work well for them. And then while Emma and Jack are working on their individual subjects that they can just go through at their own pace as they need to without much help from me, Lucy and I end up going upstairs to my bedroom, and actually in this chair, and you can actually see her books that we were using earlier today, this is where we do school for her. And so we come up sometime between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Usually it's 9, but the past couple of days of homeschool, she has wanted to start early because she is able to power through things very quickly. And so she reads me her story for her whatever reader she is in, then she does her handwriting without tears, then we go through her Singapore math. She is in book 1B of the Singapore Primary US edition. That's a mouthful. This is my 3rd time through the Singapore Primary US edition for math for my kids, and we really like Singapore math. So we do her reading, her handwriting without tears, her math, then I read history and her read aloud, and then we usually will do science a little bit later, not during this this time. So we spend about 30 to 45 minutes working on her school while Emma and Jack are downstairs doing whatever they need to do, and then she is essentially done. It seems very quick, but she's always very dedicated and efficient with her time, so it works really well for us. Then after that, I usually make a little snack for the kids, and then around 10 o'clock, it seems to work best for us around 10 o'clock is when we will all go to the living room and I will do Emma and Jack's history and read alouds. So I combine Emma and Jack on a lot of different things because it is easier. And so right now we are doing the history of science. I do expect Emma to do a little bit more with narration and questions and such, but they all tend to listen to everything that I do for read alouds, whether it's Lucy's and Emma and Jack are around if we end up doing her reading downstairs on the couch, or if I am reading to Emma and Jack. All of the kids tend to grab a notebook and some crayons or pencils to draw, and they just listen, and it's a really special time that I love. I think that we have spent most of our homeschool years reading on the couch instead of sitting at a desk, and I really like that. So that is where we spend, you know, an hour to an hour and a half where I'm just reading to the kids and enjoying that time with them. Like I said at the beginning, I do have a homeschool space in the basement. It's where we house all of our books and some extra supplies. We do have a ping pong table down there now, so it's taking up a large amount of space in the basement, but it is a really great space for homeschooling. It is one of the reasons that we bought this house was because of the finished basement and having all of that room primarily for the number of books that I have, but I have not settled into the space as much as I would like. And that is actually one of my goals for 2022. If you've seen any of my goal videos, you will know that spaces is one of the areas that I'm working on this year. I am trying to declutter and go through some things. And now that Lucy is in first grade, I do have the ability to go through some of the pre-K level books and kindergarten level books. I actually have 2 levels of pre-K books, and then I have 2 kindergarten levels of books, all from Sunlight. I did P3-4, P4-5. We did A for kindergarten, which is what I used for Emma and Jack when they were that age. And then last year we ended up buying the new kindergarten curriculum that Sunlight came out with because it was US history and Jack was in US history and Emma was also in US history. They were at different levels. The kindergarten level, the upper elementary, middle school, start of middle school level, and then the high school level. So it was so much easier for me to be in one type of history, even though it was a bunch of different books. So I have 4 levels of homeschool books and resources that we really don't need to keep anymore. And so it's very difficult for me to get rid of books. And I have a lot of books from my own childhood and even books from my mom's childhood. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with those books, but I do know that I'm running out of shelving space. I have used pretty much all of the bookshelves that I have for a lot of books, and they are not as organized as I would like them. And so I am thinking about either boxing up some of the books to save for future grandchildren. That would be a very long time away. Yeah, it is one of the things that I am hoping to focus on. Now, you will notice that I do not have a lot of decorations all over my house of homeschool things. Part of that is because I don't want homeschool decorations in our living area, but also I am much more minimalist when it comes to decorations. Now, give me all of the books, but I don't want to hang things on the walls. I know it's so strange, and I love to see everybody's rooms with the cute little charts and the decorations and the pictures and all of these things, but it doesn't work for me. And so I am totally okay with not having stuff all over the walls. And I think you really need to do what is best for you, because for a while when my kids were a lot younger, I would think, oh, I need to do this and I need to do this, and oh, we don't have this kind of map, and we don't have, you know, letters running around, we don't have any poems on the walls and stuff, and I didn't feel great about that. But as I have gone through many years of homeschooling, I realized that those types of things aren't important for our homeschool specifically. So I was able to let that stuff go. It maybe isn't as pretty as some other homeschool spaces, but it is what works for us. And that, I think, is the most important thing. Now, I do want to have sort of a caveat. We moved into this house, and part of the reason was because of the spaces that it had, but our last house had no homeschool space, and we did not have a closet. We did not have one closet in our house. There were no closets. So everything that we had to be out in the open. And so what we ended up doing was we did take a room and made it into a homeschool space so that I could have all of my books somewhere. But we ended up storing most of our books in the attic in boxes until we would need them. And so I would only have maybe 1 to 2 levels out at a time, and that was okay. And we ended up using an armoire as a place where we would store all of our craft supplies and extra notebooks. I used to keep all of my kids' work in milk crates, and I would have file folders for different subjects. And when we were done with those, I would stick them in the armoire so that they were out of the way. And that was how I homeschooled for many, many years, up until 2020 when we moved into this house. So it is okay if you don't have a whole lot of space for homeschooling. Like you saw, I do a lot of my homeschooling on the couch and at the dining room table, and really those are the only 2 places that you really need. Obviously, you want to be able to store your books someplace. If you don't have a whole lot of space, but you can store them in a box, I would put them in a box, you know, either in the attic or in your garage if you have like a garage that doesn't have animals in it, and just take things out as you need them for, you know, 6 to 8 weeks, and put it on a homeschool cart that can be rolled around and moved out of the way as you are going through school. I think that works pretty well. And so even if you don't have a ton of space, you don't feel bad about that at all. So it is totally okay if you don't have a ton of space for a lot of different things. You do not need much for homeschooling. I know families that don't keep all of their books. Instead, they work off of book lists and use the library and request books as they need them. You know, even if you don't have a lot of space, you can still have a great homeschool environment. And that is what I focus on. And that's why I think that it works for us to do so much school in the living room and at the dining room table. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video and maybe it was encouraging a little bit. I would love to see your homeschool space. So if you are joining in on the collaboration, let me know in the comments, or if you're on Instagram and you have shared about your homeschool space, leave me a comment below. I would love to see it. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.